I'd like to start off by talking about something that I'm obsessed by, and I know a lot of people are obsessed with and struggle with. And I know you also have a recent publication on this topic, which is procrastination. I am a bit of a procrastinator, but a different way of stating that is that I love deadlines. I learned in college that I love deadlines because it seems to harness my focus and my attention. I like just enough, I guess you call it anxiety or autonomic arousal for the neuroscience or physiology oriented folks. For me, just brings about a total elimination of all of the distractors. And it seems to both slow and accelerate my perception of time. And it seems to bring out my best to have deadlines. But I would prefer to not have to procrastinate in order to self-impose deadlines. I prefer that other people impose those deadlines, in fact. So what do we know about procrastination? Why do some people complete things well in advance? Why do other people procrastinate? Is it that they're seeking deadlines, as I believe I am? And interestingly, and sort of alluding to this recent paper of yours, what is the relationship between procrastination and creativity?
I feel like we should just deal with all that later. Let's put it off. No.
Good one. By the way, there's extra credit for science puns on here, so nicely done.
One of the best articles on procrastination ever written was titled, "At Last, My Article on Procrastination."
Fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, it just made me smile. So I think the basic question, I think, to start with is, why do we procrastinate? And I thought I was immune, actually, when I came into this topic. I was the person who annoyed my college roommates by finishing my thesis a couple months early. I found out there was a term for me. I'm a precrastinator. So the focus and the pressure that you get from a deadline, I get that the moment the project starts, and sometimes months or years in advance. And so I was really proud of finishing everything early. And then I discovered there are things that I procrastinate on too, which was a little bit disappointing.
Are you willing to share what some of those were?
I am. So I procrastinate on anything that's administrative. So
I'm right there with you.
You want to get time on my calendar? It could take me weeks to respond. You ask me a question about social science, I will be back to you in a minute. Mm-hmm. I procrastinate on grading. Takes me forever. I basically put off a whole bunch of tasks that I thought had nothing in common. It turns out that I procrastinate when I'm bored. Boredom is, I guess it's probably my most hated emotion. And so I will do anything to avoid a boring task. And I think this goes to why people procrastinate, which is a lot of people think it's laziness or you're not disciplined enough. But actually the research on this is really clear that you're not avoiding work when you procrastinate. In fact, a lot of our procrastination is focused on doing things that involve a lot of energy. You've seen people probably clean their entire houses when they're putting off a task. So it's not that you're being lazy, it's that you're avoiding negative emotions that a task stirs up. So for me, it's boredom. For a lot of people, it's fear or anxiety. I don't know if I can pull this off. I have an extreme case of imposter syndrome in this role. The challenge in front of me is too daunting. For some people, it's confusion. I haven't figured it out yet. And so I can't work on this because I feel like I'm stuck. So I guess the big question for you then, Andrew, is what's the emotion that causes you to procrastinate?
It's hard for me to identify the stick here. I think of it more as the carrot that comes with deadlines. And again, I don't consider myself a procrastinator per se. I just really love deadlines, and procrastination is a terrific way to simulate the deadline. So for me—
So you delay starting or finishing a task in order to have a sense of time pressure.
That's right. It builds a certain amount of internal arousal in me to know, okay, I've got 72 hours to complete something, and it's now game time. I like the game time before the game time. Before a podcast, I'll put in anywhere from several days to weeks or even months in preparation. So it's really elastic depending on the topic. But when it came to exams in school, or if it comes to writing deadlines, I consider the shipping of the product or the presentation of the live event that I happen to be doing as the second game or event. The first event is the pressure and the excitement of getting into the groove of doing focused work. Because for me, that's such a drug. I mean, it feels like having all the systems of my brain and body oriented towards one specific thing is just sheer bliss for me.
So it sounds like then you're actually not a chronic procrastinator.
Thank you.
At all.
That's never been the way I viewed myself, but now I'll take that.
It's a strategy for you.
Mm-hmm. It is a strategy. That's right. And I was fairly wayward youth, barely finished high school, et cetera. So by the time I got serious about school, which was my second year of university, when deadlines were presented, like there's a midterm exam on a given date, that was exciting to me. That was exciting. It was like, okay, that's the big thing. That's my opportunity to prove myself to myself, because I was really coming from behind. And then the opportunity or I should say the feeling of dropping into that groove, like this is the exciting part, is the preparation. Likewise with podcasting, for our solo podcast, I love the research as much as I love presenting the material. Maybe more. Right? Likewise for university lectures or for traveling and giving seminars as a traditional academic. I'm sure you're familiar with that, right? Of
course.
The preparation is where you realize, it's almost like, I think of it as somebody like a miner in a mine and just finding a gem. And of course, there are all the thoughts of what you can do with that later. And you're gonna show people it has a certain value to the world, et cetera. But it's the searching and finding those gems that is like, even as I talk about it, I feel like my body's going to float out of the chair a little bit.
I have the same experience. It's the sort of the unleashed curiosity, and then the rush of discovery. And by the time you're teaching it or explaining it, like, but I already know this. Like, I'm not learning anything anymore. And yes, I'm excited to share it, and I hope it's helpful to other people. Mm-hmm. So, I think as you talk about what your process looks like, I don't even think what you do qualifies as procrastination technically.
This is getting better and better.
I mean, seriously, if you think about how procrastination is defined, it's delaying despite an expected cost. And you don't think there's a cost. You actually see a benefit.
That's right. And I've tried starting
That's not procrastination. That's just delay.